What do people regret most when they realize their life is behind them? That today, tomorrow, or next month might be their last day. They regret having too much of the wrong things: lovers, alcohol, work, endless routine. And having too little of what truly mattered. Times when we took the wrong path, chose the wrong person, made the wrong move. I never truly had the chance to love. But she loved me. Loved me like no one else ever did. Not even my mother. Only I kept my distance. I didn't let her in. She seemed uninteresting, simply because I never had to fight for her. So, I don't really post on Reddit much. Mostly lurked. You know, the usual. Read other people's horror stories, failed relationships, random advice I never followed. But I guess I finally have something worth saying. Or maybe I just have too much time left alone with my own thoughts. Which is funny, because that's basically all I have these days, time. And not much of it. I'm 32. I live in an American hospice. Yeah. Hospice. If you don't know what that means, congratulations, you're still living in that cozy bubble where people only die in movies. Me? I'm in the part of the story where the music gets slow, and you realize the protagonist isn't making it to the sequel. No, I'm not going to tell you exactly what's killing me. Call it my last private thing. People on Reddit overshare enough. I'd like to keep one mystery. Just know that it's terminal. And it's not going to be years. Think months. Some days it feels like weeks. It's strange. You'd think the big regret I'd have would be something like not traveling to all 50 states, or never getting my own gallery exhibit, or maybe not calling my mom enough. But that's not it. Those things don't hit me at 3 a.m. when I'm staring at the blinking green light of the heart monitor. No, my regret has a name. Her name is Erin. I met her back when I was living a completely different life, and man, I mean different. I was 23, riding high as a freelance photographer. I just landed a feature in a small travel magazine. People paid me to take pictures of sunsets and strangers, and I thought that made me some kind of goddamn poet. I lived in a loft with exposed brick, wore leather jackets in July, and had the kind of Instagram feed that made people think I had everything figured out. Erin, she was just there. I mean that in the way the best people sometimes are. No big entrance, no fireworks. She wasn't the girl in red across the bar type. More like the girl who remembered your coffee order and laughed when you told her your worst jokes. I met her at a mutual friend's birthday party. She was quieter than the rest of us, but when she did talk, it wasn't filler. It was, I don't know, real. She liked me. That was obvious from the start. She didn't play games, didn't do the whole hard to get thing. She just was. She'd show up at my shoots with coffee. She'd text me about random things she saw that reminded her of something I'd said. And she had this look in her eyes that, I see you, and I still want you. Look. The problem? I was a complete asshole. Not in the screaming, breaking things way. More in the thinks life is one big buffet and women are just one of the stations kind of way. I was deep into my one-night stand phase, and I treated it like a project. Literally. I kept a black leather notebook where I'd write down the names of the women I slept with. Just first names, maybe a little note about where I met them, what they were like. Looking back, it makes me want to punch my younger self in the face. But at the time, it felt like achievement. I'd flirt with other women in front of Erin. Sometimes right in the middle of conversations with her. She never called me out on it, but I could feel the air change when I did it. She'd just go quiet, her smile slipping for half a second before she put it back on. And still, she stuck around. I didn't ask why. Honestly, I didn't care to know. One of those flings, I'll call her Melissa, ended up pregnant. She told me in this trembling voice over the phone, and I shut it down instantly. I refused to acknowledge it. I told her I wasn't ready, that it wasn't the right time, and deep down, I knew it wasn't about timing. It was about me being a coward. I didn't even ask if she kept the baby. I just stopped answering her calls. Erin didn't know that part. But I think she sensed the general rot in me. She was smart like that. And still, she wanted me. I couldn't wrap my head around it then. Why would someone like her want someone like me? Someone who didn't take her seriously, who made her feel like she had to compete with strangers for my attention. Maybe she saw something I didn't. Or maybe she just loved the idea of me. Fast forward, years passed. I lost touch with her. I chased work, chased thrills, chased women whose names I can't even remember now. My career had its highs, then its slow, quiet decline. And somewhere along the way, my body betrayed me. Which brings us back to now. Hospice bed. Too much time. And a phone with a cracked screen that I spend hours staring at. A couple nights ago, I typed her name into Facebook. I don't even know what I expected, maybe nothing. But there she was. Older, obviously, but still, her. Only now she was smiling in a family photo. Standing next to some guy in a baseball cap, holding two little girls with matching braids. Her bio said, "Married to Tom. Mom to Emma and Lila." I stared at that picture for so long I forgot to breathe. I guess part of me wanted her to be miserable without me. Pathetic, I know. But she wasn't. She looked happy. Like real happy. The kind I never gave her. And now, here's where I'm going to sound completely insane. I want to talk to her. One last time. I want to know why. Why she ever wanted me. Why she put up with my crap. Maybe even to apologize, though I'm not sure that's enough. I've drafted a message. Deleted it. Drafted it again. It's sitting there now in the text box, just waiting for me to hit send. I'm not sure if I'm doing this for her, or for me. So I did it. I hit send. That little blue message bubble slid across the screen and I swear my heart almost stopped, which is a dangerous thing to say in my condition, considering it actually might. The message wasn't perfect. It wasn't poetic or smooth. It wasn't the kind of thing that would make a woman think, wow, he's really grown. No. It was just this. Hey Erin. I know this is out of nowhere. I'm not sure if you remember me. I'd like to talk to you, if you're willing. Nothing weird. Just one last conversation. I read it back 10 times and cringed. It sounded needy. It sounded creepy. Hell, it sounded like the start of a true crime documentary. But I didn't delete it. I let it sit there. And then the worst thing happened, the scene notification. She saw it. And then, nothing. Minutes turned into hours. Hours into a day. And during that whole time, I lay here in my hospice bed, chewing on the inside of my cheek, convinced she was showing her husband, laughing about how pathetic I looked now. Can you believe this loser? The guy who used to think he was too good for me? Look at him now. That's the thing about regrets. They make you paranoid. Every silence feels like judgment. On day 2, she replied. Just one line. I remember you. That was it. No smiley face. No. How are you? Just a statement of fact. And somehow, it cut deeper than if she'd ignored me completely. I wanted to respond right away, but I forced myself to wait. You know, to look like I had some kind of dignity left. Except I don't. So an hour later I wrote back. I'd really like to see you. Just to talk. I'm not asking for anything else. She didn't answer that night. But the next morning I woke up to. Why now? I stared at those 2 words until the nurse came in to check my vitals. She thought I was asleep, but really I was just frozen, wondering how to reply. Why now? Because I'm dying, Erin. Because my world has shrunk to 4 white walls, and I have nothing left to hold on to but ghosts. But I couldn't write that. So I typed. Because I think I finally understand what I lost. And because I don't want to leave without at least saying I'm sorry. I hovered over the send button for a long time. My finger was trembling, partly from nerves, partly from the illness. Finally I tapped it. Message sent. While I waited for her response, I drifted back into memories. Funny how illness works. It makes your brain a projector, playing all the reels you thought you'd burned. I remembered the night she kissed me for the first time. It wasn't even supposed to be a date. I was at this dive bar, drunk on whiskey and my own ego, and she showed up to return a book I'd lent her. We ended up at the back booth, talking about nothing, movies, favorite foods, dumb stuff. Then the jukebox switched to an old Springsteen song, and she leaned across the sticky table and kissed me. It wasn't like the other kisses I'd been collecting. It wasn't rushed or sloppy or hungry. It was slow, almost cautious, like she was testing the ground before stepping onto it. And I remember thinking, damn, this girl actually likes me. Not the photographer, not the cool guy with the leather jacket. Me. Which made it all the worse when, 2 hours later, I left with another woman. Yeah. I actually did that. Erin never mentioned it. She just quietly slipped away from the bar before I got back from the bathroom with my arm around someone else. But I saw her face when I left. And I ignored it. That's the part that haunts me, not just the cheating, but the ignoring. Like she didn't even matter. Back in the present, my phone buzzed. Her reply had come. I don't know if that's a good idea. I almost dropped the phone. I wanted to beg, to tell her it wasn't about stealing her from her happy life, it was just one last human connection I needed. Instead, I typed, I swear it's nothing complicated. Just coffee. Or tea. Or whatever. No pressure. And then I added, against my better judgment, I don't have much time left. I regretted it instantly. That sounded manipulative, like I was using pity to reel her in. But it was the truth, and I didn't have the luxury of subtlety anymore. No answer. Not right away. So I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the oxygen machine and the distant sound of someone coughing down the hall. And I thought about that damn black notebook, the list of names. I still have it, by the way. It's in a box somewhere in my old apartment. Sometimes I imagine someone finding it after I'm gone and realizing how empty my life really was. Page after page of names, but no one I could call mine. Except maybe Erin. If I hadn't been so blind. The phone buzzed again. My heart jumped. Her message read, All right. But just once. The day Erin agreed to meet me, everything inside me twisted. You'd think that dying would numb you to nerves, that once you know the end is close, nothing else could scare you. Wrong. Nothing in my life, not even hearing my diagnosis, shook me like that one simple sentence from her. All right. But just once. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff with no harness. The hospice staff got excited when I told them I had a visitor coming. You have to understand, this place is quiet. Too quiet. People here don't really get visitors anymore. Or if they do, it's family coming to whisper goodbyes, not old flames from another life. So when I said, an old friend was stopping by, suddenly everyone wanted to tidy my room, fluff my pillows, even put fresh flowers in the plastic vase by the window. You want me to trim your beard? One nurse asked, like I was about to go on a date. And maybe I was. A date with regret. I barely slept the night before. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, not the Facebook profile smile, but the way she used to look at me when I didn't deserve it. The way her lips pressed together when she was holding back something she wanted to say. That night, I kept hearing the echo of the jukebox Springsteen song, her kiss, and then, the other woman's perfume as I walked out of the bar without her. Morning came. I asked for coffee. Black. They brought it in one of those paper cups with the hospice logo, which somehow made it taste sadder. I sat by the window, looking at the parking lot like it was a stage. Every car that pulled in, I held my breath. When her car finally did roll up, a silver SUV with a booster seat visible in the back, my chest tightened. She sat there for a minute, hands gripping the wheel, before she got out. She looked different and the same, all at once. Same brown hair, but shorter now, practical. Same eyes, though, God, those eyes. Except now there were lines at the corners, and a calmness that wasn't there when she was 23 and waiting for me to notice her. She walked toward the entrance, and I swear I almost told the nurse to say I wasn't here. Like a coward. Because what do you say to someone whose heart you cracked like glass a decade ago? But then the door opened, and there she was. For a second, she just stood there, scanning the room. When her eyes landed on me, pale, thinner than I used to be, with tubes and monitors like accessories I never asked for, I saw something flicker in her expression. Not pity, not shock. Something quieter. Recognition. "Hi," she said. Her voice was the same. That soft, steady tone that made even casual words sound like truths. "Hey," I managed. My throat felt raw. She sat in the chair across from my bed, crossing her legs, resting her hands on her knee. No hug, no handshake. Just distance. Like she was building a wall to protect herself, and I couldn't blame her. "You look," I started, then stopped. "What do you say?" "You look great?" That felt cheap. "You look older?" Insulting. Finally I went with, "Happy." Her lips twitched into something almost like a smile. "I am." And just like that, I felt the knife twist. There was silence. The kind that stretches too long, makes the air feel heavy. I thought about all the women whose names I wrote down in that black notebook, and how I couldn't remember half their faces. But Erin's face? Burned into me. "Why did you agree to come?" I asked. She tilted her head, thinking. "Because I wanted to see if you'd actually changed. Or if this was just another one of your games." That stung, mostly because she had every right to ask. "It's not a game," I said. My voice cracked on the word. She looked at me for a long moment, then finally asked, "So why me? After all these years?" I opened my mouth to answer, but instead what came out was a memory. "Do you remember that time we drove to the lake?" I asked. Her eyebrows lifted. She did. I could see it in her eyes. "It wasn't a date," I said quickly. "I made that very clear. Just friends hanging out. But you brought that stupid blanket, the one with sunflowers, and we sat there eating gas station sandwiches while I took pictures of the water. And when I developed the photos later, I realized the best one wasn't of the lake at all. It was of you. You were laughing, hair blowing in the wind, and I remember thinking, this is what people mean when they say they've captured happiness." Her lips parted slightly. She remembered. "And I never told you that," I said. "Because I was too busy chasing whatever the hell I thought mattered more." The silence after that was different. Not heavy. Just fragile. Finally she said, "You hurt me. You know that, right?" I nodded. "I know. More than once." Her eyes softened, but only for a second. Then she straightened in her chair. "So what do you want from me now?" That was the question. The big one. I wanted to say forgiveness. I wanted to say your love, just once more. But I knew that wasn't fair. Not to her. Not to the life she'd built without me. So instead I whispered, "I just want to know why you wanted me. Back then. When I didn't deserve it." Her face changed. A mix of surprise, sadness, maybe even a touch of anger. She leaned back, crossing her arms. "You really don't know?" I shook my head. And she looked straight into me, the way only Erin ever could, and said, "Because I thought you were worth saving. Because I thought you were worth saving." Her words hit me harder than any diagnosis ever could. My chest tightened, and for a second I had to remind myself to breathe. I wanted to laugh it off, make some bitter joke like I usually do, but when you're dying, humor feels flimsy against honesty. So I just stared at her, letting the silence sit. "You really didn't see it, did you?" she asked finally, shaking her head. "See what?" "How lost you were," she said. "Everyone thought you were so confident, so untouchable. But I could see through it. The way you talk about yourself, like you were already writing your own obituary. The black jackets, the late nights, the photos of strangers, it was all armor. And I kept thinking, if someone just loved you enough, maybe you'd finally put it down. Her voice cracked on that last word, and she looked away quickly, like she didn't want me to see. I swallowed. And you thought you could be that someone? Her eyes snapped back to mine. I wanted to be. I thought if I stayed, if I kept showing up, you'd finally choose me. Not because I was perfect, but because I actually saw you. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. And you know what? I don't regret it. Not even the pain. Because for those moments, those car rides, those stupid late-night coffees, I thought maybe I mattered to you. You did, I said quickly, too quickly. My voice broke. You did, Erin. I didn't know how to show it. I was too busy proving to the world I didn't need anyone. Yeah, she said, folding her arms tighter. I noticed. I wanted to tell her everything right then, about the notebook, about Melissa and the pregnancy, about the trail of people I used and discarded. My stomach nodded. My instinct was to protect her from it, but then I realized she deserved the truth. She always did. There's something I need to tell you, I said. My hands trembled against the blanket. Something I never told anyone. Her brows drew together. I used to keep a journal, I admitted. Not the kind you're thinking. It wasn't for poetry or feelings. It was a list. Names. Women I slept with. Like trophies. She didn't say anything. Just sat there, her lips pressed together, waiting. One of them got pregnant, I continued. My throat burned as the words came out. And I told her I didn't want it. I cut her off. I don't even know if she had the baby. I didn't care enough to ask. Her eyes closed. Her head tilted back, like she needed a second just to absorb it. When she finally opened her eyes, they glistened. God, you really were broken. I nodded. Still am. The room went silent except for the beeping of the monitor. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees, staring at the floor. For a moment, I thought she was going to stand up and walk out. And honestly, I wouldn't have blamed her. But she didn't. Instead, she said quietly, "Do you know what the worst part is?" "What?" I whispered. I knew. Not about the pregnancy, but about the notebook. About the way you treated women. I wasn't naive. I saw you flirting with others right in front of me. And still, I stayed. She let out a shaky breath. Because I thought maybe, if I loved you enough, you'd stop needing all the others. I felt tears sting my eyes. Why, Erin? Why would you put yourself through that? She looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time I saw anger mixed with the sadness. Because when you kissed me, it felt real. Because when you laughed at something I said, it felt like I'd lit up your whole night. Because you made me believe I could be the one person who mattered to you. My throat closed up. All I could manage was, "You were." She shook her head. Not enough. The truth of it sliced me open. Not enough. That was my whole life in 2 words. I wiped at my eyes clumsily. If I could go back. You can't, she interrupted, sharp. And you don't get to rewrite it now just because you're dying. Her words should have gutted me. Instead, they grounded me. She was right. I couldn't rewrite it. But maybe I could finally stop lying. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, I said. But I needed you to know that you were the only one who ever tried. The only one who really loved me. Her eyes softened again, tears slipping free. She stood then, crossing the tiny space between us, and for the first time since she walked in, she touched me, just her hand over mine, light, hesitant. I did, she whispered. I really did. The machine beeped steadily beside me, and for a brief, impossible moment, it felt like time bent. Like we were back at that lake, sitting on the sunflower blanket, the world too big and us too small, but happy anyway. And then she pulled her hand back, wiped her eyes, and said, "I should go soon." The panic that surged in me was immediate, childish. No, please. Not yet. She looked torn, glancing at the door, then back at me. I have my daughters waiting at home. My voice broke. I don't know if I'll see you again. Her face twisted, caught between pity and guilt. I'll think about coming back. And then she turned, walking slowly toward the door. I watched her hand on the knob, praying she'd look back one last time. She did. Her eyes met mine across the room, full of all the words we never said. Then she left. After she left, the room felt emptier than it had ever been. I stared at the door long after the click of the latch echoed down the hall. The beep of the monitor sounded sharper, more insistent, like it was mocking me. I thought about chasing her out into the parking lot, begging her to stay. But even if I'd done that, what would I have said? Come back and love me? She'd laugh, or cry, or call security. And I couldn't. I couldn't ask her to risk her life for a man who spent years treating her like she didn't matter. So I lay back, staring at the ceiling, letting my mind drift. And that's when the hallucinations started. Or maybe dreams. Or maybe just memories so vivid they turned the room into another world. The hospice walls melted. The white tiles and fluorescent lights became a dense forest. Shadows moved between the trees, and the sun broke through the canopy in shafts of golden light. I saw her again, laughing on that sunflower blanket. The wind tangled in her hair. I reached out, but my fingers passed through hers like smoke. Then she was gone, replaced by faces from the black notebook, all the women I used, the ones I hurt. Their eyes were empty, accusatory, their voices whispering my failures back at me. I woke to the monitor beeping faster. My heart racing. And yet, I felt calm too, a strange serenity washing over me. In those hallucinations, I realized something. Every name I had ever written down, every mistake, every selfish act, it had been leading me here. To her. To this impossible, last conversation. I started to speak aloud, to apologize to them all, but the room stayed silent. Even the hospice staff didn't hear me. Just me and the ghostly echoes of my own life. Hours passed. Night fell. The hallway outside my room hummed with the quiet lives of other patients, some sleeping, some dreaming, some crying. I thought about how my own life could have gone differently if I had chosen differently, if I had chosen Aaron, if I had chosen honesty, if I had been brave enough to love instead of conquer. I remembered that one night in February, during a blizzard, when I'd walked past her apartment without knocking. I had told myself I was busy. I had told myself I wasn't ready. But now, lying here, I saw the truth. I was scared. Scared of intimacy, scared of responsibility, scared of something real. I whispered her name into the darkness. Aaron. It sounded like a prayer, or maybe a confession. My voice trembled. Why did you love me? And then, in that quiet, impossible space between life and death, I felt something shift. A warmth. A presence that wasn't mine, but felt intimately familiar. I closed my eyes, and there she was, in my mind, in the room, in the forest, in every impossible place I had ever imagined. She smiled. You already know, she said. Not with her voice, not with words, but with a feeling that wrapped around me, gentle and undeniable. You were worth saving because you could see it one day. Maybe not then. Maybe not at 23. But now. I felt tears run down my cheeks, hot and raw. And I laughed quietly, shakily. Because it wasn't relief, exactly. Not yet. But it was something. A tether. A light in the darkness. I drifted in and out of sleep after that, hallucinations blending with memories. I dreamed of the black notebook burning in a bonfire, the pages curling into ash. I dreamed of Melissa, smiling in a sunlit park with her child, unknown to me yet alive. I dreamed of myself, young, reckless, chasing women who didn't matter, and then turning to Aaron, finally understanding the love I'd wasted. When I woke, the room felt less empty. Not full, exactly. Just quieter. Peaceful. A single beam of sunlight fell across my bed. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the same gnawing anxiety, the same desperate hunger for more. I had glimpsed something eternal, something larger than my own selfish regrets. I thought about sending her another message. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I realized that some things weren't meant to be fixed. Some truths weren't for anyone else to carry. Some love, like hers, was already enough. Even if I never got another chance to say, thank you, in words. I reached for the blanket over my chest and held it close. It smelled faintly of antiseptic and linen, but in my mind it smelled like that sunflower blanket, like summer, like laughter, like possibility. And I thought, maybe this is how it ends. Not with anger, not with regret, not with empty words on a page. But with memory, with understanding, with knowing that I was loved once, truly loved, and that it was enough to carry me, finally, to the end. She came back the next day. I didn't know if I had the right to hope, but when I saw her car pull into the lot again, a strange trembling ran through me, part fear, part relief, part desperation. When she walked in, she carried herself differently than yesterday. More composed. But when her eyes met mine, that soft, knowing glance returned, and something in me loosened that I didn't realize had been tied so tightly for years. "Hi," she said. Just that. No judgment, no lecture. Just presence. "Hi," I whispered. My voice cracked. She sat down, closer this time. Not in my face, not intrusive, just close enough to remind me that once, she had chosen to be here. To care. "I thought about what you said," she began. "About wanting to know why I loved you. And?" I breathed. "And it wasn't complicated. You were broken, yes. Reckless, yes. Careless, yes. But underneath all that, you had this impossible light. You had a way of seeing the world and capturing it, not just through your camera, but through your thoughts, your voice, your laughter. That drew me in. I loved you because I believed in that light, even when you didn't." I swallowed, tears threatening. "And now? After all this?" She reached out and touched my hand. Warm. Solid. Now I love the memory of it. The real you, even when you wouldn't let anyone see it. That's enough. You don't get a second chance at your youth. But you get this moment. You get the truth. You get closure. I laughed shakily. Closure. I repeated. It sounded alien. Foreign. And yet comforting. "I wish you could have loved me then," she said softly. "But you couldn't. And I'm glad you finally see what was there." We sat in silence after that. Not awkward, not strained. Just two people who had loved and lost and survived, meeting in the narrow, quiet space left by years and regret. "I should go," she whispered. "Please, not yet," I begged, though I knew I had no right. She lingered a few more moments, fingers brushing mine, eyes holding mine as if to etch it into both our memories. "Goodbye, then," she said finally. And just like that, she was gone. I lay back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling, feeling the hollow ache of absence and the bittersweet weight of something finally right. It was a love story that had no second acts, no sequels. Just a first act, messy and reckless, and a final act, quiet and true. Hours passed. The room dimmed. The light fell at different angles. I thought about the black notebook, about Melissa, about the lives I had intersected and abandoned. And I realized that love, real love, had only touched me once. Only Erin. And even if it was brief, even if I didn't deserve it, it had been enough. I closed my eyes, letting the memory of her smile, her laugh, the warmth of her hand carry me. Not into life, not into the world of the living, but into something softer, gentler, almost sacred. And as I drifted into the quiet unknown, I whispered one last thing. "Thank you, Erin. For loving me. For being enough." The monitor's beep slowed, the room became still, and for the first time in my life, I felt complete. Some love isn't about possession, isn't about the right time or the perfect circumstance. Some love is just luminous, fierce, true, and in its own way, it saves you. Even if only for a moment. Even if only in memory. And that was enough.
Subscribe to my channel to see even more interesting stories from the lives of American hospice patients. Be the first to find out who they loved, what they hated, what they regretted, and how, a few days before going to eternity, they dared to end this life on a high note. 100 fascinating stories from the diary of a hospice nurse are waiting for you. The names of the characters have been changed, the stories are true.